Forbidden metaphysics reveals a truth most will never access, a hidden understanding that places you ahead of 99% of people almost instantly. Within these teachings lies the quiet law that shapes outcomes, perception, and power itself. Learn it carefully, and do not use it for evil, for what you wield through this knowledge always returns. Forbidden Metaphysics. Introduction. There exists a hidden lattice beneath the surface of reality, subtle, unseen, yet infinitely responsive. These are the invisible threads that weave the tapestry of existence, moving in quiet harmony with every thought you think, every emotion you feel, and every belief you dare to hold. Though concealed from ordinary perception, their presence is as ancient as awareness itself. They do not sleep, nor do they falter. They simply reflect. Before anything takes form in the outer world, it is first conceived within the sacred chamber of the mind. Like a mystic artist who beholds the finished masterpiece before a single stroke is made, you too are the silent creator, painting your life not with hands but with consciousness itself. Each thought is a brush stroke, each feeling a hue, each belief a defining line in the grand design of your reality. Yet many wander endlessly through the outer world, seeking change in shifting circumstances, unaware that what they pursue cannot be found outside. They attempt to reshape the reflection while ignoring the mirror. In doing so, they unknowingly reverse the natural order of creation. For the universe follows a timeless law. All things are born in the unseen before they appear in the seen. Thought precedes form. Inner precedes outer. Your mind is not a passive space where ideas drift and fade. It is the very forge of reality. Every notion you entertain plants a seed. Every emotion you nourish waters it. And in time, without exception, it blossoms into experience. This is not a matter of belief or disbelief. It is law, silent, constant, and exact. Just as gravity does not require your consent to act, neither does this principle wait for your understanding to unfold. Look closely at your present life, and you will glimpse echoes of your past inner world. Every circumstance is a harvest, grown from seeds once sown in thought and feeling. To recognize this is not to assign blame, but to reclaim power. For if your inner world has shaped your reality until now, then it can just as surely reshape it anew. There is no need for arcane rituals or hidden knowledge to master this truth. The path is both simple and profound. It asks only that you become aware, deliberate in your focus, sincere in your feeling, and steadfast in your trust. To embody your desires as though they already breathe within your reality is to align yourself with the current of creation itself. This is where your true authority begins, not in controlling the world outside, but in harmonizing the world within. For the outer world is but a reflection, faithfully mirroring the inner landscape you carry. To awaken to this is to step beyond illusion and into creation. It is the beginning of a sacred journey, one where you no longer drift through life unconsciously, but instead consciously weave the very threads that shape your destiny. Before we get into the book, comment, "I am ready," to affirm your intention to the universe. Part 1. The Hidden Switch of Reality. Chapter 1. The Mirror Principle. In a quiet village among rolling hills, there lived a woman named Dottie who spent her mornings preparing herbs and remedies for the townspeople. One dawn, as she arranged her bottles before the old copper-framed mirror, she caught herself frowning at a misplaced vial. The reflection instantly mirrored her displeasure. Then, struck by a sudden thought, she smiled, and there in the glass, her joy shone back at her without delay. This simple observation awakened in her a forgotten truth. The mirror never hesitated, never questioned, never chose a different expression. It simply returned what was offered, faithful to the original in every detail. As you walk through the chambers of your life, the universe responds with this same perfect precision. Each circumstance you encounter, each response you receive, mirrors the energy you emanate. The world does not create your experience, it reflects it. This truth unveiled itself again through Henry, the village gardener, whose flowers refused to bloom despite his meticulous care. Day after day, he muttered about poor soil and unfavorable weather, and day after day, his garden remained barren. Until one morning, touched by an inexplicable gratitude, he began blessing his plants, whispering words of appreciation to the earth beneath his feet. Within weeks, his garden transformed into a symphony of colors, responding to the new song in his heart. You stand now at the threshold of understanding. Your world behaves as a cosmic mirror, returning to you the exact frequency you transmit. When your heart overflows with appreciation, life multiplies the reasons to be grateful. When you radiate abundance, circumstances align to match this vibration. The universe knows no delay in this reflection. It is instantaneous, though your physical eyes may take time to perceive the change. The mystery of creation lies bare before you. The mirror cannot give what your vibration excludes. In praising, you open channels for abundance. In lamenting, you tune to the frequency of lack. This is not punishment or reward, but the perfect operation of universal law. Ancient practice of the mirror. Move through your day as if every event, person, and circumstance is a mirror reflecting your inner state. When something appears displeasing, pause. Smile inwardly. Soften your heart's image until you feel the shift. Watch as the outer scene rearranges itself to match your transformed vibration. Remember, the mirror never moves first. Your shift initiates the change. Chapter 2. The Frequency of Permission. The walls of Millie's office seemed to close in with each passing day as she watched others climb the corporate ladder while she remained rooted to her position. Each morning she arrived early, stayed late, and performed her duties with meticulous care, yet the promotion she yearned for remained tantalizingly out of reach, like a mirage that shimmers but never solidifies. The truth that eluded Millie was written in the very air around her. With every sigh of frustration, every moment of doubt, she wove an invisible net that caught and held her desires at bay. Her skills matched the position she sought, her experience more than sufficient, but her inner dialogue spoke a different language, one of unworthiness and uncertainty. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, cannot override our own resistance. When we grasp too tightly, we create tension in the fabric of possibility. This tension becomes a barrier, preventing the natural flow of abundance from reaching us. Your desires are like delicate butterflies. Chase them too aggressively, and they flutter beyond reach. Stand still in quiet confidence, and they may well land upon your shoulder. Consider Clarence, the artist whose masterpiece hung in his studio for months without notice. His initial approach mirrored Millie's, pushing, striving, desperately seeking validation. Each day he positioned his work strategically, spoke of its worth to every visitor, yet met only polite nods and passing glances. Everything shifted the moment Clarence released his grip on outcomes. He moved the painting to his favorite wall simply because its colors brought him joy. He stopped explaining its meaning, allowing viewers to discover their own connection to the piece. In this space of pure appreciation, something magical occurred. A collector noticed the painting's quiet power. Word spread. Soon Clarence's work attracted the very recognition he had ceased to chase. These stories reveal a fundamental truth. What you resist persists, but what you embrace with calm certainty finds its way to you. The universe responds not to your words or actions alone, but to the energy signature of your being. When you align your inner state with the reality you desire, while releasing attachment to how and when it manifests, you create a clear channel for abundance to flow. Through Millie's struggle and Clarence's breakthrough, we witness the power of allowance. True manifestation occurs not through force, but through faith, not the blind faith of wishful thinking, but the grounded knowing that what is meant for you cannot miss you when you stand in receptive alignment. Practice. Find a quiet moment each day. Bring to mind your heart's desire. Then, with the gentleness of a feather touching water, whisper inwardly, "I consent." Let these words carry the weight of complete acceptance. Move through your day as though your desire has already manifested on an unseen plane, awaiting its perfect moment to materialize. Speak of it with the quiet confidence of one who knows, rather than one who hopes. Watch as the invisible circuitry of the universe begins to sparkle with possibility. Chapter 3. The Gravity of Thought. Deep within the currents of creation lies a truth so simple yet so transformative. Your thoughts shape the very substance of your reality. In the bustling streets of a small town, there lived a baker named Hazel, whose story unveils this ancient wisdom. Each morning, Hazel rose before dawn to craft her cupcakes. Her recipes were perfection, handed down through generations, yet her display case remained untouched while neighboring shops flourished. As she decorated each treat, her fingers moved with precision, but her mind churned with worry. No one appreciates artisan baking anymore. They'll probably choose the cheaper options next door. The sugar, flour, and butter, innocent witnesses to her daily struggle, absorbed more than just physical ingredients. They absorbed her resistance, her doubt, her frustration. Like a radio tuned to a frequency of lack, her creations broadcast the very energy that kept customers at bay. Then came the awakening. One peaceful Sunday morning, as sunlight streamed through her window, Hazel noticed how her mood affected the smoothness of her frosting. In that moment, an ancient truth crystallized. Her thoughts were ingredients as tangible as any other. This revelation mirrors the tale of Theodore, the carpenter who worked in silence at the edge of the forest. Each stroke of his chisel carried a blessing. Each table emerging from his hands bore invisible inscriptions of love. He imagined families gathering, sharing meals, creating memories, all before his creations found their homes. Soon, word spread of furniture that seemed to radiate warmth, and his humble workshop could barely keep pace with demand. These stories illuminate the universal law that thoughts possess gravitational force. Like planets held in orbit, circumstances circle around the mass of our dominant beliefs. The heavier the emotional investment, the stronger the gravitational pull, keeping experiences locked in familiar patterns. Yet this force works both ways. When Theodore infused his work with love, he activated the highest frequency of creation. His thoughts became chisels, carving reality from the raw material of possibility. Similarly, when Hazel finally shifted her inner dialogue, her cupcakes began to carry a different energy, and customers suddenly appeared as if awakening from a spell. The wisdom whispers, every thought is a seed, every emotion its water, every consistent focus its sunlight. The garden of your life grows not from the soil of circumstance, but from the invisible plantings of your mind. Practice. As you move through your day, observe each recurring thought as a seed. When you catch a heavy one, offer it gentleness and release. Speak the version you prefer, even if softly in imagination, until its gravity shifts and new circumstances begin to orbit your joy instead. Chapter 4. The Emotional Compass. The wisdom you now encounter reveals a truth as old as breath itself. Your emotions serve as an internal compass, eternally faithful to the alignment between your thoughts and your highest path. This sacred knowledge, passed through generations of mystics and sages, unveils itself in the simplest moments of daily life. In a village near the mountains, there lived a woman named June, who spent her days trapped in an endless maze of uncertainty. Each decision felt heavy with consequence, each choice clouded by doubt. She consulted others endlessly, seeking external guidance while her inner wisdom waited patiently to be heard. One morning, as dawn painted the sky, June noticed something peculiar. Her feelings of certainty or doubt always followed her moments of clarity or confusion. This observation opened a door to ancient understanding. Emotions do not lead thought. They follow it, like shadows follow form. The universal mind speaks through the language of feeling. When your thoughts align with your greater purpose, joy rises naturally like steam from hot springs. When thoughts oppose your true path, unease settles in your bones as gentle warning. This is not punishment or reward, but rather the universe's loving guidance system. Warren, who cleaned halls in a small school, discovered this truth without seeking it. Each morning, he would hum melodies while sweeping, transforming routine into ritual. His simple practice elevated ordinary moments into meditation. Soon, he began noticing small miracles, a needed supply appearing just as he reached for it, a kind word arriving precisely when his spirit needed lifting. The universe responded to his harmony with a symphony of synchronized moments. This teaching illuminates a fundamental law. Emotion is the soul's translator, converting infinite wisdom into personal guidance. Your feelings are not random. They are precise instruments measuring the frequency of your thoughts against the frequency of your highest good. When anxiety or resistance appears, it signals thought patterns misaligned with your greater path. Peace and enthusiasm mark thoughts that flow with your divine current. The ancient ones knew this secret. Before charts and maps, they navigated by feeling. The body holds wisdom deeper than logic, and your emotional state reveals truth more reliably than any external counsel. Practice of inner navigation. When facing a choice that clouds your mind, find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Bring to mind each potential path before you, one at a time. As you hold each possibility in your thoughts, pay attention to the sensation in your chest. Notice which option creates expansion, a feeling of openness, lightness, or peace. This expansion is the universe's gentle yes. When you sense contraction, heaviness, or constriction, you have touched upon a no. Follow the path that brings expansion, moving forward with gentle certainty. Trust this internal guidance system, for it connects you directly to the wisdom of the infinite. Chapter 5. The Law of Reversal. In the depths of time, a story echoes of Flora, whose yearning for freedom became entangled with the very chains she sought to break. Each morning she would gaze through her window, listing all the barriers that held her back, her obligations, her debts, her fears. With each recitation of limitation, the walls of her life seemed to inch closer, as if summoned by her attention. The universe operates through a sublime paradox. What you resist, you inadvertently strengthen. Like a shadow that grows darker the more intensely you stare, your challenges multiply under the weight of your focus. This ancient law of reversal reveals that energy flows where attention goes, regardless of whether that attention stems from desire or aversion. Within every limitation lies a doorway to its opposite, yet we often miss it, mesmerized by the lock rather than seeking the key. Flora's story mirrors the universal tendency to forge stronger bonds through the very act of fighting them. Your power lies not in opposing what constrains you, but in shifting your gaze toward what liberates you. Consider Albert, whose workshop once echoed with frustration at each failed attempt. His breakthroughs remained elusive until the day he reversed his approach. Instead of waging war against failure, he began studying the nature of ease itself. He observed how water flows around obstacles, how leaves dance with the wind rather than resist it. Within months, inspiration flowed through him like a clear stream, delivering 3 fully formed inventions that seemed to arise from nowhere. This law operates with mathematical precision in every arena of life. When you push against poverty, you engrave lack deeper into your experience. When you battle against loneliness, you amplify the sensation of separation. The universe responds not to your words of negation, but to the energy of your attention. The ancient masters understood. Transformation occurs not through combat with the undesired, but through gentle realignment with the desired. Each time you catch yourself dwelling on what you wish to eliminate, you have discovered a powerful moment of choice. In these moments, your awareness becomes the lever that can shift entire worlds. The practice. When facing what you do not want, pronounce silently, "Thank you for showing me where my attention rests." Then turn gently toward what feels lighter. Chapter 6. The Magnetic Word. In the subtle realms of creation, your words weave the tapestry of tomorrow. When Pearl cursed her mornings, she found her whole day grew sour. With each complaint, she unknowingly fashioned darker hours ahead, her criticism crystallizing into circumstance. Yet the wisdom lay not in her struggle, but in the invisible architecture her speech constructed. Words are seeds stamped with intention, each one carrying the full potential of what it describes. When you speak of lack, you water the garden of scarcity. When you announce triumph, you till the soil for victory. This is not mere poetry. It is the mechanics of manifestation laid bare. Speaking is energetic architecture. Each declaration builds the framework of your next experience, whether whispered in solitude or proclaimed to crowds. The universe knows no difference between casual conversation and formal prayer. It simply echoes the vibration you emit. The core teaching reveals that vocabulary is visible, vibration made manifest. Each syllable instructs matter, shaping the substance of reality with the precision of a sculptor's chisel. Those who master this law find their words returning to them clothed in circumstance, as surely as echoes return in a canyon. In a small coastal town, Leroy discovered this truth through innocent experiment. He began greeting strangers with genuine warmth, allowing his words to carry the full weight of his goodwill. Within weeks, he inherited a circle of friends who mirrored that warmth back to him. His simple hellos had seeded a garden of connection, proving that speech is audible faith. The interpretation rings clear. Every declaration becomes the blueprint for experience. Your words are not merely descriptive. They are prescriptive, writing the script of your next scene. The universe moves to match your proclamations with unwavering loyalty, whether they spring from habit or conscious choice. Ancient practice of word weaving. Begin regarding your spoken words as living broadcasts. Choose those that send peace, humor, and success ahead of you. Speak as though your phrases are flowers you'll later walk through. This is not an exercise in forced positivity, but rather in conscious creation. Let each word carry the full weight of your intention, knowing it will return bearing gifts in its image. Chapter 7. The Still Point of Vision. In the depths of an ancient monastery, a young scribe named Nell devoted herself to solving problems through endless analysis. Day after day, she filled scrolls with detailed examinations of every challenge that arose, believing that if she thought hard enough, solutions would emerge. Yet the more intensely she focused on difficulties, the more they seemed to multiply. The art of creation flows not from the churning mind, but from the silent spaces between thoughts. Like the pause between breaths holds life's essence, the gap between mental activity cradles wisdom's seed. This truth remains hidden from those who mistake mental activity for progress. When you fixate on a problem, you feed it energy. The mind's constant motion creates waves that distort the surface of consciousness, making it impossible to see the depths where answers dwell. True solutions arise not from the strain of analysis, but from allowing the mind to settle into its natural state of clarity. Consider Floyd, a wandering musician who had struggled for months to compose his masterpiece. Each day he sat at his instrument, forcing melodies that rang hollow. One autumn morning, weary of effort, he walked through the forest with no intention but to breathe the crisp air. As his thoughts quieted, a melody more beautiful than any he had consciously created floated into his awareness. The music that eluded his grasp came effortlessly when he released the need to find it. This principle extends beyond artistic creation. It governs all manifestation. The universe's wisdom flows most freely through a mind at rest. When you cease the endless analysis of how and when and why, you become a clear channel for divine intelligence. Solutions appear not because you hunted them down, but because you created space for them to emerge. The paradox lies in learning to act without forcing, to create without straining, to solve without wrestling. This is the art of inspired action, moving from stillness rather than struggle. When faced with any challenge, your first step is not to attack it with thought, but to allow your mind to settle like disturbed water, returning to calm. Sacred practice. Find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and imagine your awareness as a perfectly still lake mirroring the sky above. Watch as the ripples of thought gradually subside. Don't try to force stillness. Simply observe the natural calming of mental waters. When the surface becomes like glass, notice what image or insight naturally rises from the depths. Without analyzing or questioning, let this be your guide. Trust that the still mind connects to infinite intelligence, bringing exactly what you need. Chapter 8. The Wealth Circuit. In the heart of a bustling marketplace, Betty stood before her small shop, meticulously recording every penny spent and earned. Each evening she would pore over her ledger, calculating ways to stretch her dwindling resources further. The more she focused on scarcity, the tighter money's flow became, until her careful counting seemed to constrict the very channels through which abundance might flow. At the core of this eternal wisdom lies a profound truth. Wealth moves not by measurement, but by motion. Like water in a stream, money stagnates when held too tightly, yet flourishes in its natural state of flow. The universe responds not to desperate retention, but to the sacred dance of giving and receiving. When you release your grip on scarcity, you open the floodgates of abundance. Your relationship with money is a reflection of your trust in life's endless bounty. Those who clutch at wealth find it slipping through their fingers, while those who celebrate its movement discover an endless stream of prosperity. George, a humble merchant, discovered this truth through an unexpected act of generosity. One afternoon, moved by an inexplicable impulse, he doubled his usual tip to a street musician. The next morning, 3 wealthy patrons entered his shop, each bringing business that had seemed impossible just days before. The universe had responded not to his calculation, but to his open-hearted participation in abundance's natural flow. This ancient principle reveals itself in every exchange. What we resist, we repel. What we embrace, we attract. Money, like all energy, follows the path of least resistance. When you approach each transaction with gratitude rather than fear, you align yourself with the natural current of prosperity. In your own life, each coin spent or received becomes an opportunity to participate in this divine circulation. The secret lies not in hoarding, but in honoring the sacred flow of abundance. When you bless what leaves your hands and welcome what enters with equal joy, you become a conscious conductor in the universal symphony of prosperity. Practice. Sacred currency circulation. As you move through your day, transform each financial transaction into a ceremony of conscious abundance. Whether giving or receiving, pause briefly to acknowledge the perfect circulation of prosperity. Touch each bill with reverence, knowing it carries energy beyond its numerical value. Mentally affirm, I am a joyful participant in life's abundant flow. Through me, prosperity circulates freely, blessing all it touches. Let every exchange become your contribution to the endless symphony of universal abundance. Chapter 9. The Collapse of Time. In a bustling marketplace there lived a merchant named Iris, who measured each moment with anxiety's ruler. Her shop, though filled with precious wares, became a temple to urgency rather than abundance. From sunrise to sunset, she would count the hours like a miser counts coins, believing that rushing would somehow multiply time's yield. Yet the more she chased the hands of the clock, the more they seemed to mock her haste. Time, in its infinite wisdom, operates as a mirror of consciousness. When you grasp at its edges, it slips through your fingers like water. When you rest in certainty, it flows as naturally as breath. This truth lies at the heart of temporal mastery, the understanding that time is not a tyrant, but a faithful servant of your dominant vibration. Within the unseen architecture of reality, time bends to belief. Your perception of its passage determines its behavior in your experience. Those who live in constant anticipation of future moments find themselves perpetually waiting, for anticipation itself creates the very gap they wish to close. Consider Melvin, a master craftsman who discovered this principle through his work with intricate timepieces. Where others saw deadlines as threats, he viewed them as gentle suggestions. Rather than forcing his creations into rigid schedules, he would sit quietly each morning, experiencing the satisfaction of completion before lifting a single tool. In his mind, the work was already done. He merely needed to align with its natural unfolding. Gradually, Melvin noticed something remarkable. Projects that once demanded weeks now flowed to completion in days. Clients appeared at precisely the right moments, and materials arrived without effort. He had stumbled upon time's greatest secret. It expands or contracts according to your relationship with it. This principle extends beyond mere efficiency. It touches the very essence of manifestation. When you strain toward a desired outcome, believing it exists in some distant future, you unknowingly push it further away. The universe responds not to your calendar, but to your consciousness. The practice of temporal alignment. Find a quiet space and settle into stillness. Think of something you currently await, perhaps an opportunity, a resolution, or an achievement. Now, rather than reaching forward in time, allow yourself to sink into the feeling of it already being complete. Experience the relief, the satisfaction, the natural gratitude that accompanies fulfillment. Let this feeling permeate your being until it becomes more real than the waiting. Maintain this state for several minutes, knowing that what you seek is not in some far-off future, but present now in the realm of completion, simply awaiting your alignment with its reality. Chapter 10. The Protective Field. In the mountains of ancient times lived a healer who carried no amulets of protection. When asked why she walked unguarded through valleys known for bandits, she smiled and said, "What exists in peace cannot be touched by discord." Her wisdom echoes through ages, speaking to the heart of energetic mastery. The universe operates through resonance, not resistance. What appears as negativity is merely misaligned energy seeking harmony. When you understand this truth, fear dissolves into wisdom. The power you grant to external forces through attention becomes the very currency of their influence in your life. Think of your consciousness as a sovereign kingdom. Nothing enters these borders without your energetic signature of acceptance. This is not about building walls, but about maintaining such clarity of vibration that discord finds no purchase in your field. Like oil separating from water, energies that don't match your frequency naturally fall away. The ancient masters taught that protection comes not from shields, but from presence. When you stand firmly in your own light, shadows cannot form. This is why those who walk in grace often seem untouched by the storms that rage around them. They have not learned to fight against darkness. They have simply mastered the art of holding their light steady. Consider how a lighthouse does not battle the waves. It simply shines, unwavering, and ships find their way. Your role in the face of perceived negativity is equally simple. Maintain your frequency of peace. The moment you engage in combat with lower energies, you have already descended from your natural state of power. Now witness how a peaceful garden naturally repels chaos. Insects that would harm the plants find themselves drawn elsewhere, while those that contribute to its flourishing are welcomed by the very nature of its harmony. Your energy field operates by the same principle. Like Frank in his workplace, you hold the power to transmute any environment through your conscious presence. It's not about changing others or fighting against what appears negative. Instead, your unwavering appreciation creates a field so strong that disharmony simply cannot sustain itself within it. The truth becomes clear. You are not a defender against negativity, but a bearer of light. In this understanding lies true protection, not in armor, but in authenticity. As you align with your highest frequency, you'll notice how naturally life rearranges itself to match your vibration. Sacred practice. For 7 breaths each morning, center yourself in the knowing that your energy field is sovereign. As you move through your day, practice this inner declaration. I am the light I carry. What does not match my peace simply passes by. Watch how your reality begins to mirror this truth, arranging itself in perfect harmony with your sustained clarity. Part 2. The Architecture of the Unseen. Chapter 11. The Spiral of Belief. In ancient times, a wise woman discovered a truth so vital it changed the course of countless lives. Your beliefs are not mere thoughts, but threads weaving the very fabric of your existence. This wisdom echoes through the ages, carried in whispers and sacred texts, until it reaches you in this moment. Elsie, a merchant's daughter, carried the weight of past setbacks like a heavy cloak. Each morning she would gaze at her reflection, seeing only the shadows of ventures that had crumbled. I am not meant for success, she would murmur, and the universe, ever faithful to our deepest convictions, would arrange circumstances to prove her right. Yet in the tapestry of existence, belief moves in circles, spinning patterns that repeat until they become our reality. Like water flowing in a stream, our thoughts create channels that grow deeper with each passing moment. Elsie's story transforms when an aging mystic shares a secret. Your belief is not a wall, but a wheel. Change its direction, and the whole carriage of your life will follow. The core teaching reveals itself. Belief is not static, but dynamic, a perpetual motion that shapes our experience. Each thought we entertain becomes a note in the symphony of our reality, played on repeat until it manifests in the physical world. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, does not judge our beliefs. It simply reflects them with perfect accuracy. Raymond, a scribe in the ancient halls of learning, discovered this truth through necessity. Each dawn he would stand before his mirror, speaking words of capability and worth. Success flows naturally to me, he would declare, replacing old doubts with new certainties. At first, the words felt hollow, yet he persisted. Within one cycle of the moon, opportunities began appearing. A prestigious commission here, a word of praise there. Soon, his reputation grew as though guided by an invisible hand. This second tale illuminates the deeper truth. Belief is the autopilot of our existence, steering us toward whatever destination we program into our consciousness. When Raymond altered his inner dialogue, he changed the coordinates of his journey. The interpretation becomes clear. Your current circumstances are not your sentence. They are merely the echo of past beliefs still reverberating through your life. Like a musician learning a new melody, you can rehearse different thoughts until they become your natural song. The ancient practice of belief transformation. As the sun rises each morning, take a quiet moment to observe your recurring thoughts. On a clean page, inscribe the thoughts that limit you. Beside each one, write its elevated counterpart, not as wishful thinking, but as a new truth you choose to embody. Throughout your day, when the old pattern emerges, consciously redirect your mind to the new belief. Let it play in your consciousness like a sacred chant until reality aligns with your transformed vision. In this way, you become the composer of your destiny, conducting the symphony of circumstance with the baton of belief. Chapter 12. The Channel of Intuition. In the stillness of an ancient marketplace, a merchant named Sadie sat among her colorful wares, wrestling with an inner voice that urged her to move her stall to the quieter eastern corner. Surely, she thought, true wisdom should arrive with certainty, like thunder across mountains. Yet the whisper persisted, gentle as morning dew. The voice of intuition speaks not in shouts, but in subtle impressions, a warmth in the chest, a lightness in the breath, a quiet knowing that transcends logic. For ages, masters and mystics have understood that the universe communicates through this delicate language of inner promptings. These signals arise from the depths of universal intelligence, carrying messages meant precisely for the moment they appear. Consider how the smallest seed knows exactly when to sprout, requiring no loud command. The flower opens not to trumpets, but to the silent touch of dawn. So too does your inner wisdom operate with sublime efficiency, offering direction through the softest of impulses. Otis, a humble craftsman, understood this truth only after years of dismissing his subtle inclinations. One autumn morning, while walking his usual route to market, he felt a gentle urging to turn left instead of right. The suggestion came not as a commanding voice, but as a feather-light pull in his consciousness. For once, he honored this quiet prompting. On that alternate path, he encountered an elderly artisan who would become his most valued business partner and mentor. What appeared as chance was actually the careful orchestration of universal intelligence, delivered through the whisper of intuition. This principle reveals a profound truth. When you trust these subtle signals, you align with the universe's natural flow. Each intuitive nudge is like a thread in an invisible tapestry, weaving together circumstances for your highest good. The wisdom already knows your destination. It simply awaits your recognition and trust. To incorporate this understanding into your daily life, begin this ancient practice. When you notice an inner prompting, no matter how slight, acknowledge it aloud. Whether choosing between two streets or making life decisions, verbally recognize these gentle signals. Say simply, "I hear you," or "I acknowledge this guidance." This creates a sacred dialogue with your inner wisdom, strengthening the bond between your conscious mind and the infinite intelligence that guides all life. By treating each subtle intuition as a valued messenger, you develop fluency in the universe's native language. Remember, the most powerful forces often move with the quietest grace, like the unseen current that guides stars in their courses. Chapter 13. The Transmutation of Contrast. A desert wanderer once shared this truth. The finest gems are found not in comfort's shade, but in friction's heat. Like the oyster transforming irritation into pearl, your challenges carry hidden treasures waiting to be recognized. In a small coastal town, Ginny spent her days crafting intricate pottery, each piece reflecting her relationship's apparent perfection. When her partner departed without warning, she initially saw only loss and betrayal. Yet as the dust settled, wisdom began to surface through her tears. The separation had revealed how she had dimmed her light, compromised her values, and forgotten her own worth. In the silence of her empty studio, she discovered that contrast had unveiled her true desires, a love that matched her depth, honored her spirit, and celebrated her growth. The universe speaks through experience, crafting precise situations that highlight our forgotten truths. Each seeming setback serves as a mirror, reflecting what we have outgrown or overlooked. When Peter's beloved bookshop faced closure after 20 years, his first response was despair. But rather than dwelling in fear's narrow corridors, he chose to explore the spacious halls of possibility. In meditation, he realized his attachment was not to the shop itself, but to the joy of connecting people with knowledge. This clarity led him to create a mobile library service that reached twice as many readers and brought literature to those who couldn't travel to stores. These stories illuminate a profound truth. What appears as loss often clears space for expansion. The universe never subtracts without offering a greater sum. Each challenge arrives bearing a question. What truth have you forgotten? What growth awaits your recognition? Your disappointments are not cosmic punishments, but precise alignments, each one calibrated to awaken deeper understanding. When relationships dissolve, they reveal where you've compromised your essence. When opportunities vanish, they expose where you've outgrown old containers. Every unwanted circumstance carries a gift, the gift of contrast that sharpens your knowing. Ancient practice. When circumstances disturb your peace, sit quietly with paper and pen. Write, "This situation teaches me that I truly desire." Let your heart speak freely. Then offer gratitude for this clarifying contrast, saying, "Thank you for showing me what I truly seek." Watch how this simple acknowledgement transforms resistance into revelation and pain into precision. Before we get into the next chapter, you can download a free ebook version of this audiobook using the link in the pinned comment below this video. Chapter 14. The Harmonics of Relationships. Long ago, there lived a merchant named Mabel who owned a prosperous marketplace stall. Each morning, she opened her shop surrounded by fellow merchants, yet found herself constantly irked by their behavior. One sold wares too loudly, another displayed goods too prominently, and a third moved too slowly when customers approached. Her days filled with silent criticism and barely concealed disdain. As seasons passed, Mabel noticed a peculiar pattern. The very traits that bothered her seemed to multiply. New merchants arrived, each mirroring the qualities she despised. Her corner of the marketplace became a symphony of everything she resisted, until one day, a wise tea seller shared an ancient truth. The world is but a looking glass, reflecting not what surrounds us, but what dwells within. This simple truth unveils a universal principle. Your relationships serve as perfect mirrors, revealing your own vibration. When you encounter discord in others, pause and examine the frequency you emanate. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, arranges these reflections not to torment, but to illuminate. Consider the tale of Clarence, a village elder who struggled with contentious council meetings. Each gathering dissolved into argument and strife until he discovered the art of internal attunement. Before each meeting, he would sit in silence, cultivating feelings of understanding and goodwill. As his inner state shifted, so too did the council's dynamics. Words that once sparked conflict now inspired collaboration. This principle extends beyond human interaction into every facet of experience. Each encounter serves as a tuning fork, resonating with your inner frequency. When you meet resistance, harshness, or judgment, recognize these as echoes of your own vibration. Similarly, when you experience harmony, respect, and kindness, acknowledge these as reflections of your cultivated inner state. The law operates with mathematical precision. Like attracts like, frequency draws matching frequency. Your relationships become living barometers of your consciousness. This truth liberates you from the cycle of blame and victimhood, placing the power of transformation firmly in your hands. To transform any relationship, begin with your own vibration. Before entering any interaction, attune yourself to the qualities you wish to experience. If you seek understanding, cultivate understanding. If you desire respect, embody respect. The outer world must, by universal law, rearrange itself to match your dominant frequency. Ancient practice. Sit quietly and envision each person in your life as an instrument in a grand orchestra. See yourself as the conductor, holding the power to set the tone. Before any interaction, choose consciously the note you wish to play. If tension arises, adjust your inner melody rather than attempting to retune others. Watch as the symphony of your relationships transforms to match your chosen frequency. Chapter 15. The Quantum Decision. In a distant village, there lived a weaver named Lydia, who sat daily at her loom, paralyzed not by lack of skill but by indecision. She would begin weaving one pattern, only to unravel it moments later, wondering if another design might prove more beautiful. Her workshop filled with half-finished tapestries, each bearing witness to her hesitation. The universe operates through definite channels. When you remain suspended between possibilities, you create a field of static where nothing can fully materialize. Each moment of indecision is an energetic contradiction, a yes and no occupying the same space, neutralizing the creative force that seeks to flow through you. Consider how water behaves when divided among too many channels. It loses its power to carve its path. So too does your creative energy disperse when split among multiple potential realities. The art of manifestation requires the courage to collapse possibilities into a single chosen path. This truth revealed itself to Arnold, a merchant who spent years debating whether to relocate his shop to a distant city. Each morning he would wake determined to move, only to retreat into doubt by nightfall. His energy, divided between staying and going, created a stagnant pool where neither choice could gain momentum. Then one autumn morning, Arnold made a simple yet profound shift. Instead of weighing endless possibilities, he chose to view his potential move as an adventure. In that instant of clear decision, the universe responded as if commanded. Within days, a perfect storefront became available. A family offered to buy his current shop at an unexpected price. Even the weather aligned to make his journey pleasant. The lesson shimmers with clarity. Power lies not in making the perfect choice, but in the act of choosing itself. When you commit fully to a direction, you release the creative forces of the universe to arrange circumstances in support of your decision. Indecision is not wisdom, but resistance to the natural flow of life. Ancient practice. Stand in a quiet space each morning. Place 2 objects before you, representing different choices. Close your eyes and feel the energy of each option. Notice which one creates expansion in your chest, which brings lightness to your breath. Choose swiftly based on this feeling, then act immediately, even in some small way, to honor your decision. This practice strengthens your decisive muscle and attunes you to the swift response of universal forces when you commit clearly to a path. Chapter 16. The Alchemy of Forgiveness. In the depths of an ancient monastery, a wise teacher once shared the tale of Bethany, the flower merchant. Each morning she would arrange her blooms with meticulous care, yet her thoughts remained tangled in memories of those who had wronged her. Her rival's success across the street, her former partner's betrayal, the customer who spread unfair rumors, all these she held close, believing these grievances were armor against future harm. The flowers in her shop began to wilt faster than they should. The vibrant roses dulled, and the lilies drooped, as though responding to an invisible weight. Bethany failed to see that her own spirit, heavy with past hurts, was infusing every stem she touched with the same heaviness she carried within. The true nature of forgiveness lies not in pardoning others, but in freeing oneself. This wisdom echoes through the ages. Resentment is a chain that binds both the holder and the held. When you maintain grievances, you unknowingly pledge your vital force to past moments that no longer exist except in memory. Consider Marvin, the village painter, who spent years harboring anger toward the patron who had publicly criticized his work. His brushstrokes grew rigid, his colors muted, until one dawn when he witnessed a flock of birds soaring past his window. Their effortless flight sparked something within him, a recognition that he too could choose liberation. That morning, he began a new practice. With each brush stroke, he imagined sending streams of golden light toward those who had hurt him. As he released his grip on old wounds, his art transformed. Colors flowed more vibrantly, lines danced with newfound freedom. Commissions multiplied, not because he had become more skilled, but because his work now carried the lightness of his unburdened spirit. The universe speaks clearly through such examples. Forgiveness is not weakness, but wisdom. It is the recognition that every moment spent nurturing grievances is energy diverted from creating the life you desire. Those who master this understanding find that their path forward becomes mysteriously smoother, as though invisible obstacles have dissolved. Ancient practice for energy. Reclamation. Find a quiet space and close your eyes. Picture the person or time period that still holds your energy through resentment. Watch as they begin to dissolve like watercolors in rain, their form becoming less distinct, merging with the light around them. As they fade, breathe deeply and repeat with quiet authority, "I reclaim my energy now." Feel the power returning to you like a warm wave, filling you with renewed potential for creation. Chapter 17. The Signature Vibration. In the quiet mountains where wisdom gathers like morning dew, there lived a woman named Lulu who spent years studying the ways of others. She observed their mannerisms, copied their words, and tried to replicate their success. Yet with each imitation, her dreams seemed to drift further away, like leaves caught in an autumn breeze. The universe speaks through unique channels, each soul designed to transmit its own frequency. When you attempt to broadcast on another's wavelength, the signal becomes distorted, weakened by the very effort to strengthen it. This is the first law of energetic authenticity. What flows naturally attracts naturally. In the marketplace of a distant city, Ralph struggled similarly. A merchant by trade, he watched other sellers draw crowds with their booming voices and practiced charm. Day after day he attempted their techniques, yet customers sensed the dissonance between his actions and his essence. His breakthrough came unexpectedly, when exhaustion led him to drop his performance. That morning he stumbled over his words, laughed at his own awkwardness, and shared stories with endearing uncertainty. To his amazement, people gathered around his stall, drawn not by polished presentation but by the warmth of genuine expression. His sales doubled, then tripled, as though the universe had waited for this alignment before opening its floodgates. The law reveals itself. Authenticity is the only currency accepted in the cosmic exchange. When you speak, move, and create from your true nature, you tap into an energy that has been waiting since the dawn of time to express itself through you. This power cannot be borrowed, only discovered. Your signature vibration is like a fingerprint of the soul. Attempting to forge another's print only marks you as counterfeit in the eyes of universal law. The path to magnetism lies not in perfecting an image, but in allowing your natural light to shine without filter or force. Practice. Find a quiet moment each morning before the world's voices grow loud. Close your eyes and recall instances where joy flowed without effort, where words came unbidden, where your presence felt completely natural. These are glimpses of your authentic signature. Throughout your day, expand these moments through small, genuine expressions. A laugh that bubbles up naturally, a truth spoken simply, a gesture that feels inherently yours. Treat these authentic moments as precious coins, collecting them consciously, knowing each one strengthens your energetic wealth. Chapter 18. The Field of Expectation. A merchant named Abigail once kept a peculiar collection, not of treasures or rare items, but of disappointments. Each setback, each closed door, each unanswered prayer became another piece of evidence in her growing museum of misfortune. Like a botanist pressing flowers between chapters, she preserved each letdown, each rejection, each missed opportunity. Her expectation of disappointment became so refined that she could sense its approach like storm clouds on the horizon. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, simply mirrored back what she held so carefully in her consciousness. Her expectations were prophecies waiting to be fulfilled, though she mistook them for mere observations of an unkind world. In this realm of consciousness, expectation carries more weight than any physical effort. It shapes the invisible mold into which reality must flow. Your anticipation becomes the architect of tomorrow, sketching blueprints that the universe faithfully constructs. Wendell, a shopkeeper in the same town, stumbled upon this truth through an accidental experiment. One morning, weary of his usual dread, he decided to approach his daily errands differently. Instead of assuming tedium and frustration, he began expecting small delights, a pleasant conversation, a fortunate timing, an unexpected discount. At first it felt foolish, like playing pretend, but soon life began responding with peculiar precision. The parking spot that always eluded him appeared just as he arrived. The usually stern postal clerk shared a genuine smile. A chance encounter led to a valuable business connection. These weren't mere coincidences. They were manifestations of his shifted expectation. Like flowers turning toward sunlight, circumstances began arranging themselves to match his inner attitude. His new outlook acted as a magnetic force, drawing forth experiences that validated his positive anticipation. The law reveals itself. Reality follows expectation with unwavering loyalty. What you anticipate with certainty becomes the path of least resistance for the universe to fulfill. This is not blind optimism, but rather a conscious calibration of your receiving frequency. Your expectations are silent commands to the field of infinite possibility. When you anticipate joy, the universe conspires to justify your faith. When you expect grace, life rearranges itself to prove you right. The practice. Begin each morning by setting your expectation dial to receive goodness. Anticipate friendliness from strangers, ease in your tasks, and unexpected gifts in ordinary moments. Create appointments with delight in your mind and watch as reality hurries to keep these rendezvous. The universe will prove as faithful to your positive expectations as it was to your doubts. Chapter 19. The Symmetry of Giving and Receiving. In the whispers of an ancient marketplace, a merchant named Opal arranged her wares each morning with meticulous care. Her silks and spices drew admiring glances, yet she gave away more than she sold, hoping the universe would notice her generosity. With each item she gifted, her spirit dimmed slightly, though she called this dimming virtue. Her hands moved with decreasing joy as she parceled out her treasures, while her heart grew heavy with unspoken resentment. The universe responds not to action, but to vibration. When giving depletes rather than uplifts, it creates an energetic debt that must eventually be balanced. This truth remains hidden from those who mistake sacrifice for spiritual currency. True generosity flows like a river that first fills its own banks before nourishing the surrounding lands. The law of circulation demands balance, not martyrdom. Every act of giving must honor both giver and receiver, creating a harmonious exchange that enriches the entire field of experience. When you empty your cup, believing that depletion equals worthiness, you misunderstand the cosmic dance of abundance. Vernon, a skilled craftsman, spent years creating beautiful pieces for others while postponing his own dreams. His workshop became a sanctuary of obligation rather than inspiration. One day, As another request for free work arrived, he felt the familiar weight of expected sacrifice, but something had shifted within him. With quiet clarity, he declined, choosing instead to focus on a project that made his heart sing. In the days that followed, his creativity soared. Clients appeared who valued his work at its true worth. His genuine enthusiasm attracted opportunities that benefited everyone involved. By honoring his inner harmony, he discovered that prosperity follows authenticity, not sacrifice. The interpretation reveals itself. The universe measures not the size of your giving, but the resonance of your energy as you give. When action aligns with inner truth, both giving and receiving become expressions of the same divine flow. Sacred practice. Before any exchange, whether of time, energy, or resources, pause and place your hand upon your heart. Feel the natural rhythm there. Does the proposed giving or receiving match this rhythm? Move forward only when your inner compass points to joy. Accept with grace what others offer, knowing that receiving with gratitude completes the circuit of abundance. Let your yes be full and your no be clear, trusting that the universe orchestrates perfect balance through your honest alignment. Chapter 20. The Theater of Reality. In a bustling market square, a merchant named Dorothy arranged her wares each morning, watching the parade of faces pass her stall. Some days brought eager customers, others only indifferent glances, until one remarkable morning when understanding dawned like sunlight through temple windows. As she observed the flowing crowd, Dorothy noticed how her private thoughts about each person seemed to shape their response. When she labeled someone rushed and dismissive, they hurried past without a glance. Yet when she imagined someone as curious and appreciative, they often paused, smiled, and engaged. This simple observation unveils a universal truth. The world performs according to our inner casting call. Your consciousness is the playwright, and everyone you encounter reads from the script you have unconsciously prepared. The faces that greet you, the attitudes that meet you, even the random interactions that find you, all follow cues from your deeper expectations. The power of this principle lies in its gentle authority. You need not force change through outer manipulation. Instead, you transform experiences by revising the inner story you tell about each player in your daily drama. Franklin, a quiet accountant, discovered this wisdom during a challenging period at his office. His colleague Thomas had earned a reputation for shooting down every new idea with grim predictions of failure. Rather than resist this energy, Franklin began an experiment in perception. Each morning he looked at Thomas and silently thought, "Here sits an unrecognized visionary, waiting to emerge." At first, nothing seemed to shift, but gradually, almost imperceptibly, Thomas began offering constructive suggestions alongside his concerns. Within weeks, he had become the department's most innovative problem solver. The cynical critic had transformed into the insightful advisor, all because one person dared to see him differently. This law operates with mathematical precision. What you deeply believe about others becomes their role in your life's play. If you cast someone as an adversary, they will reliably perform that part. See them as an ally and watch their character evolve. The stage of life responds not to what you wish people were, but to what you truly perceive them to be. This is why surface affirmations often fail, while genuine shifts in perception create lasting change. The key lies not in trying to change others, but in transforming your vision of them. Ancient practice. As the sun rises each day, become the casting director of your life's performance. Before engaging with anyone, the grocery clerk, your family members, colleagues, even strangers on the street, assign them an empowering role in your mind. See the barista as the bearer of joy, your challenging manager as the wise teacher, or the busy server as the ambassador of grace. Create these titles with sincere appreciation, letting your heart fill with warmth for each character's highest potential. Then watch as the universe's players begin to embody the noble roles you have assigned them in the grand theater of existence. Part 3. The Master Key of Creation. Chapter 21. The Resonant Self. In the heart of a bustling marketplace, a merchant named Esther counted her daily earnings with furrowed brows. Each coin clinked against her wooden table as doubt whispered its familiar song. Despite years of spiritual seeking, she felt disconnected from the abundance she knew existed in the universe. Night after night, she performed rituals and recited prayers, believing these acts would somehow build a bridge to divine grace. One evening, as shadows lengthened across her empty stall, an old woman appeared. Without speaking, she placed a simple mirror on Esther's table. In its reflection, Esther saw not her worried face, but a radiant light that had always been there, hidden beneath her searching. In that moment, she understood. Connection to Source was not something to construct, but rather a truth to remember. Like a child who had forgotten how to smile until seeing their reflection laugh, Esther realized the divine force had never left her side. Her seeking had actually created the illusion of separation. The very act of trying to build connection had reinforced the false belief that she was ever disconnected. Leonard, a potter in the same market, discovered this truth through simpler means. One evening, while washing dishes in his modest kitchen, he chose gratitude over his usual mental complaints. As warm water flowed over his hands, he appreciated its cleansing touch. When soap bubbles caught the light, he marveled at their rainbow hues. In that ordinary moment, time seemed to slow, and bliss arose without effort. The universe speaks in the language of effortless being. When we release the strain of seeking, we find ourselves already home. Every attempt to reach for connection paradoxically pushes it away, like trying to grasp water. The tighter we clutch, the more it slips through our fingers. Your natural state is one of perfect alignment. The Source flows through you as surely as blood flows through your veins. What appears as disconnection is merely attention fixated on its absence. Like a fish searching for water while swimming in the ocean, we often overlook the very essence in which we live and move. The secret lies not in building new pathways to Source, but in remembering we never left. Each breath draws from infinite supply. Each heartbeat echoes universal rhythm. Miracles manifest not through effort, but through recognition of what already is. Ancient practice. Throughout your daily tasks, whether washing dishes, walking to work, or waiting in line, silently affirm your oneness with the infinite. Notice how the ordinary becomes luminous when viewed through eyes of remembrance. Feel the divine current that has always flowed, requiring only your acknowledgement to dance in your awareness. Chapter 22. The Invisible Teacher. In the depths of an ancient valley, there lived a young woman named Cora, who carried frustration like heavy stones in her pockets. Each day brought new irritations, a missed opportunity, an unkind word, a faltering step. She saw these moments as random cruelties until one morning, while watching dewdrops gather on a spider's web, wisdom awakened within her heart. The web, perfect in its design, had gaps where strands had broken. Yet these very gaps allowed the morning light to create patterns of unprecedented beauty. In that moment, Cora understood what she had labeled as flaws were actually openings for illumination. This truth lies at the heart of all existence. Life itself serves as your greatest teacher. The universe does not send hardships to burden you, but to enlighten you. Each challenge arrives precisely crafted to unveil the next layer of your potential. When you shift your perception to see life as your mentor, every experience transforms into sacred instruction. That difficult conversation becomes a lesson in compassion. The delayed project teaches patience. Even the smallest setback carries seeds of invaluable wisdom. Consider Percy, a merchant who once cursed every obstacle in his path. His warehouse flooded, destroying his inventory. Rather than surrendering to despair, he chose to view the situation as training. "What are you teaching me?" he asked the rushing waters. The answer came not in words, but in inspiration. He rebuilt his business with a revolutionary storage system that protected against future floods. His misfortune had been a master class in innovation. The universe speaks through synchronicity, those meaningful coincidences that feel like cosmic winks. When you approach life as a student, these synchronicities multiply. The book that falls open to exactly the page you needed to read. The stranger whose casual comment answers your unspoken question. The wrong turn that leads to the right opportunity. Resistance dissolves when you stop fighting against experiences and start learning from them. Every event becomes a doorway to deeper understanding. The traffic jam offers moments for meditation. The canceled meeting creates space for crucial reflection. What seemed like interruption reveals itself as divine intervention. Sacred practice. As this day draws to a close, find a quiet moment for this ancient ritual of acknowledgement. Sit in stillness and address the day as you would a wise elder. Speak aloud. "I thank you for your teachings. Through each moment you have guided me." Then voice the lessons you received, whether through joy or challenge. Let each recognition anchor these teachings in your consciousness, transforming experience into wisdom and wisdom into light. Remember, you are not moving through random events, but receiving precisely crafted instruction from the greatest teacher of all, life itself. Chapter 23. The Golden Present. In an ancient village, there lived a weaver who spent her days lamenting the patterns she had not yet created while yearning for designs she had woven in the past. Her present work suffered, threads tangled by her distracted mind, until a wandering sage paused at her door. "Your loom sings discord," he observed. "Each thread yearns for your complete attention." The core teaching emerges from this timeless tale. Power dwells not in what was or what might be, but in the sacred space of now. The present moment is the only point where consciousness can shape reality. When attention scatters between memory and anticipation, creation becomes impossible. Like water that can only be cupped in still hands, life force flows most potently through focused awareness. The universe speaks in the language of now, while the mind chatters in past and future. This is why masters of manifestation cultivate presence as their primary practice. A merchant once discovered this truth while counting his coins. For years his wealth had fluctuated wildly until one day he chose to pour his full attention into simply feeling the weight and texture of each piece. In that moment of complete presence, he noticed subtle patterns in trade he had missed before. His business transformed not through strategy, but through the power of undivided attention. The interpretation reveals itself. When you merge totally with any moment, you tap into the eternal current that flows beneath all circumstances. Time itself bends around focused consciousness. This is why artists lose themselves in their work and emerge to find hours have passed like minutes. They have touched the timeless through presence. The present moment is not a stepping stone to somewhere else. It is the doorway to infinite power. When you stand fully in now, past and future lose their grip. Worry dissolves because it requires thoughts of tomorrow. Regret fades because it needs yesterday's shadow. To access this power, begin with any ordinary action. As you lift a cup, feel its weight. As you walk, notice each step's pressure. As you breathe, follow the air's journey. These are not mere relaxation techniques. They are gateways to the force that creates worlds. The practice. Select any sensation occurring right now, the pressure of your seat, the movement of air on your skin, the sound of distant activity. Give it your complete, loving attention. Notice how time seems to soften and expand around your focus. Rest in that expansiveness, letting it remind you that the present moment is your point of power. Chapter 24. The Equation of Joy. Once, in a distant village, lived a weaver named Etta who measured her worth by the strain in her shoulders and the ache in her hands. Dawn to dusk she toiled, believing that only through struggle could true value emerge. Her tapestries, though skillfully crafted, carried the weight of her labor in every thread. As seasons passed, Etta noticed that her finest works, the ones that drew gasps of wonder from buyers, were those she had woven during moments of unexpected lightness. When birdsong had lifted her spirit, or when morning light had danced across her loom, her fingers had moved with a grace that no amount of forced discipline could summon. This truth whispers through the fabric of existence. Joy is not merely the aftermath of achievement, but the very force that brings it forth. Like water flowing downhill, creation moves most powerfully along the channels of delight. Consider Orville, a piano tuner who lived in the heart of a bustling city. Each evening, after tending to others' instruments, he would sit at his own piano, not to practice, not to perfect, but purely to play. His fingers danced across the keys, crafting melodies that emerged from his soul's quiet happiness. He sought nothing beyond the simple pleasure of creating music. Yet the universe responds to such pure expressions. Soon, those who heard his playing through open windows began to gather. Without seeking acclaim, Orville found himself surrounded by an appreciative audience. Opportunities flowed naturally. Concert halls opened their doors, students sought his guidance, and success arrived as effortlessly as his music. The law reveals itself. When you align with joy, you tap into the universe's own creative current. Forced effort pushes against this flow, while happiness moves with it. This is why children learn so swiftly through play, why artists break through barriers during moments of inspiration, why inventors often discover solutions when they step away from struggle. Your natural state is joy. When you return to this truth, you align with the very force that spins planets and blooms flowers. Success becomes not a destination to reach, but a natural expression of your aligned energy. The universe does not require your strain. It invites your delight. Every masterpiece, every breakthrough, every miracle carries the signature of joy at its core. When you choose happiness first, you join the creative current that moves mountains and manifests dreams. Ancient practice. Let each day contain at least one act performed purely for the joy it brings. Watch the petals of circumstance unfold naturally around this center of genuine delight. Notice how quickly external success aligns with internal celebration. The universe mirrors what you emanate. Choose joy, and watch how swiftly abundance follows this luminous path. Chapter 25. The Bridge of Faith. In a small village, Minnie stood before her empty art gallery, heart heavy with uncertainty. Each morning she arranged paintings that no one seemed to notice, questioning whether her dream would ever materialize. Her hands trembled as she unlocked the door, mind clouded with doubts about the day ahead. It was then she encountered an elder artist who shared wisdom passed down through generations. Faith, he explained, is not hoping for what might be. It is standing firmly in what already exists in the unseen realm. His words awakened something within her, a remembrance of an ancient truth. The nature of reality flows like water from formless to form, from invisible to visible. Just as a seed contains the full pattern of its flower, your vision holds complete blueprint of its manifestation. Those who master this law understand that evidence follows belief, never the reverse. When you plant a seed, you need not dig it up daily to check its progress. Your role is maintaining the fertile soil of certainty. The universe responds not to your wishes, but to your unwavering knowing. This is the hidden mechanism behind every masterpiece, every empire, every breakthrough that graces human history. Chester embodied this principle when he opened his bakery. While others saw empty shelves and quiet mornings, he moved through his space as though it already bustled with life. He arranged his kitchen with the precision of one serving hundreds, spoke of his success in present tense, and felt gratitude for customers before they arrived. Within months, the aroma of his breads drew crowds as though they had always been destined to come. The law operates with mathematical precision. Your inner certainty generates an electromagnetic field that attracts corresponding circumstances. Doubt creates static in this field. Faith amplifies its power. This is why masters teach that faith is not blind hope, but rather clear vision, seeing through the temporary illusion of absence into the permanent reality of completion. Ancient practice. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and step into the scene of your fulfilled desire. Notice how it feels to be there, not as a future possibility, but as a present fact. Let your body relax into the certainty of its completion. Feel the relief of knowing it is done. Hold this state for several minutes, allowing doubt to dissolve in the warmth of your conviction. This is not imagination. It is tuning to the frequency where your desire already exists. Chapter 26. The Dimension of Gratitude. In the ancient scrolls of wisdom, a story echoes through time of a woman named Patsy who discovered one of existence's most potent secrets. Each morning, she would take pen to paper and write heartfelt messages of appreciation for gifts not yet received, treating future blessings as though they already graced her life. This practice seemed peculiar to those around her, yet the universe responded to her advanced gratitude with remarkable precision. The invisible architecture of reality operates through a principle as old as creation itself. Gratitude collapses the space between desire and manifestation. When you extend thanks before evidence appears, you align with the cosmic law that transforms emptiness into fullness. Your appreciation becomes the bridge across which abundance travels. Patsy wrote, "Thank you for the perfect home," while still living in cramped quarters. She expressed gratitude for financial freedom while managing modest means. She offered thanks for vibrant relationships before meeting new friends. Within months, her reality began shifting to match her appreciative vision, as though her gratitude had magnetized the very experiences she celebrated in advance. This mirrors the deeper truth that lack exists only in perception, never in substance. The universe holds infinite potential, waiting to be called forth through the frequency of thanksgiving. When you stand in gratitude, you stand in the creative current that shapes all form. Wilbur's story reinforces this principle through his journey with health. Facing chronic fatigue, he began thanking his body for its strength and vitality each morning. Rather than focusing on symptoms, he celebrated the wellness he wished to experience. Gradually, his energy returned, not through external intervention, but through the magnetic power of appreciation. The interpretation reveals itself with crystal clarity. Appreciation is not merely a response to abundance. It is the very currency that creates it. Like a master key unlocking hidden chambers of possibility, gratitude opens doors that effort alone cannot breach. When you thank life in advance, you demonstrate trust in the invisible order that governs all manifestation. This trust becomes the fertile soil from which your desires naturally bloom. The universe cannot help but respond to genuine appreciation, for gratitude and abundance are two expressions of the same force. The ancient practice. Find a quiet moment each day to sit in stillness. Begin savoring your existing blessings, feeling the warmth of appreciation flow through your being. Let this feeling expand until you sense yourself surrounded by an ocean of abundance. From this space, notice how new blessings begin appearing in your life, wearing familiar faces, as though they were old friends returning after a long absence. Chapter 27. The Infinite Game. A merchant named Sally paced anxiously in her shop each morning, watching competitors and tracking every transaction against imagined targets. Her mind raced with thoughts of market share, profit margins, and outmaneuvering rivals. Each sale felt like a battle won, each quiet day like impending defeat. The weight of this constant competition drained her spirit until wisdom arrived through an unexpected source. One morning, while watching children play in the square outside her shop, she noticed how they moved from game to game without keeping score. Their laughter rang purest when they forgot who was winning. In that moment, she understood. They played for the joy of playing itself. The universe operates through this same principle of joyful expansion. Like a child stacking blocks simply to experience the delight of creation, Cosmic forces move through eternal cycles of growth and renewal. There is no final victory to achieve, no ultimate score to settle. Each moment exists as an opportunity for creative expression, each challenge an invitation to dance with new possibilities. Your experience transforms when you grasp this truth. Consciousness seeks expansion through play, not dominance through struggle. Every goal you set is not an end point, but a piece of playground equipment, a structure through which you can express more of your infinite potential. Curtis, a corporate executive, discovered this when he stopped treating quarterly targets as life or death verdicts. Instead, he approached each project as an adventure in creativity. He asked himself, how can this be more fun, rather than how can I win? The shift was subtle but profound. His team's energy lifted, innovation flowed naturally, and productivity soared, not because they were striving harder, but because they had tapped into the natural current of playful expansion. When pressure drops away, power rises. This is the paradox at the heart of universal law. The moment you release the need to prove yourself, you access the full force of your creative nature. Success multiplies not through grim determination, but through aligned joy. The universe responds not to desperate effort, but to playful engagement. Like a parent watching a child discover their capabilities, it delights in your exploration and supports your growth through the law of attraction. When you approach life as a game of joyful expansion, circumstances arrange themselves to match your lightness of being. Practice. Find a quiet space and close your eyes. Imagine your current goal as a piece of playground equipment, perhaps a swing that lifts you higher or a slide that moves you forward with ease. Feel the natural excitement of play, replacing any anxiety about outcomes. Throughout your day, whenever tension arises around achievement, silently ask yourself, how can I make this more playful? Let each action flow from joy rather than pressure. Watch how the universe mirrors back your lightness with synchronized support. Chapter 28. The Lighthouse Principle. In the quiet hills beyond the city, there lived a woman named Ruby, who dedicated her days to pursuing the approval of others. She exhausted herself arranging elaborate gatherings, sending thoughtful gifts, and crafting perfectly worded messages, all in hopes of being noticed and appreciated. Yet with each effort, genuine connection seemed to slip further from her grasp. The more frantically Ruby reached outward, the more others appeared to withdraw. Her story unveils a fundamental truth about the nature of attraction and influence in our universe. That which pursues creates resistance, while that which simply radiates naturally draws all things to itself. Consider the lighthouse standing resolute on rocky shores. It wastes no energy searching for ships to guide. It does not dim its brilliance wondering if boats will notice. The lighthouse simply shines, constant, unwavering, true to its purpose. And in doing so, it serves as a beacon for all vessels seeking safe harbor. This principle extends far beyond mere social dynamics. It touches every aspect of existence where we find ourselves striving instead of being. The universe responds not to desperate grasping, but to authentic radiance. Glenn, a writer living in a small coastal town, discovered this truth through his craft. For years he had analyzed market trends, chasing popular styles and subjects, His work felt hollow, and readers sensed it. Everything changed when he finally began writing simply for the joy of expression, allowing his natural voice to emerge. As he focused on the pure delight of creating, his words began to resonate with an authenticity that drew readers naturally to his work. Without pursuit, his audience found him. The interpretation becomes clear. When you shift from seeking to shining, from chasing to radiating, you align with a profound universal law. Like the lighthouse, your role is not to hunt down ships, but to tend your inner flame with such devotion that others cannot help but be guided by its glow. This teaching reveals the elegant simplicity behind authentic influence. Stop exhausting yourself with endless pursuit. Instead, cultivate your inner light, your unique gifts, your deepest truths, your natural joy. Let your radiance be steady and true, knowing that what is meant for you will navigate naturally toward your beacon. Sacred practice. Begin each day by sitting quietly for a few moments. Imagine yourself as a lighthouse, your inner light glowing strong and steady. Throughout your activities, pause occasionally to ask, "Am I chasing or am I shining?" When you notice yourself straining toward outcomes, gently return to simply radiating your authentic energy. Trust that by maintaining your true frequency, all that aligns with your highest good will find its way to your shore. Chapter 29. The Union of Action and Being. In the quiet hours before dawn, Phoebe sat at her desk, shoulders tense, forcing herself to complete one more task. Her calendar overflowed with commitments, each one a weight she carried. Though successful by outer measures, exhaustion had become her constant companion. Yet transformation arrived through an unexpected source, watching a stream wind effortlessly through her garden. The water never pushed or strained, it simply followed its natural course. This simple observation sparked an ancient truth. Inspired action flows like water, arising spontaneously when being aligns with intention. Just as a river doesn't force its path but moves in harmony with the landscape, human achievement flourishes when inner state matches outer goals. The universe operates through the law of least resistance. When you align your frequency with your desire, action becomes as natural as breath. Struggle signals misalignment, while ease indicates flow. The effort is not in the doing, but in the becoming. Harvey's story illuminates this principle perfectly. For years, he had aggressively pursued investors for his eco-friendly housing project, pushing himself through endless networking events. Burned out and discouraged, he finally surrendered the chase. One morning, feeling inexplicably drawn to volunteer at a local shelter, he followed the impulse without expectation. There he met James, a wealthy philanthropist who had been seeking sustainable housing initiatives to fund. The very connection Harvey had strained to manufacture appeared effortlessly when he allowed himself to be guided by genuine inspiration. What appears as coincidence is often alignment made visible. When your vibration matches your vision, the universe conspires to bring opportunities that feel like natural extensions of who you are. Forced action depletes, while inspired action energizes. The key lies not in working harder, but in becoming the frequency of your desire. Watch a child at play. They don't schedule joy or strategize happiness. Their actions flow spontaneously from their state of being. This same principle applies to all creation. When you embody the energy of your goal, relevant actions arise naturally, without strain. Interpretation. The quality of your being determines the effectiveness of your doing. Achievement through alignment feels like inspiration rather than obligation. When you struggle, pause, and adjust your frequency rather than forcing action. Practice. Before engaging in any significant task, take time to tune your inner state. Sit quietly and breathe until you feel calm assurance flowing through you. Only move forward when action arises naturally from this aligned space. Let your doing emerge from the overflow of your being, never from depletion. This simple practice transforms effort into inspiration, replacing struggle with flow. Chapter 30. The Return to Source. In a distant mountain village, there lived a woman named Vera who spent decades pursuing spiritual wisdom. She traveled to temples, studied with masters, and collected teachings like precious gems. Yet fulfillment remained elusive, always seeming to hover just beyond her grasp. Through these wanderings, a subtle truth began to surface. Each new teaching, every profound experience, pointed to what was already present. The very awareness reading these words, experiencing this moment, this was the treasure she had been seeking. The core teaching reveals itself with elegant simplicity. Consciousness is not a destination, but the ever-present reality in which all destinations appear. Like waves searching for water while being water itself, humanity's spiritual quest often overlooks its own nature. You are not separate from the awareness you seek to attain. You are that awareness, temporarily dreaming of separation. Gerald, a merchant who had grown weary of spiritual practices, stumbled upon this understanding one ordinary morning. While preparing his morning tea, he noticed that the witnessing presence observing his movements had been there all along. Through every triumph and challenge, every joy and sorrow, his decades of meditation had not created this presence. They had merely reminded him of what he had never lost. The second story speaks through a blind musician named Thomas, who spent years trying to achieve music until he realized music was not separate from his being. The moment he stopped reaching for it and simply allowed it to flow through him, his playing transformed from technique into pure expression. What changed was not his skill, but his recognition that he was not the doer, but the space through which music moved. This points to the fundamental truth. Enlightenment is not an achievement, but a recognition. It is the simplest honesty, the direct acknowledgement that consciousness is not something you can attain, because it is what you already are. All seeking dissolves in this recognition, like a wave realizing it was always ocean. Ancient practice. Sit quietly in any comfortable position. Let go of all spiritual seeking, all desire for enlightenment or transformation. Simply whisper inwardly, "I already am." Allow this truth to cascade through every thought, every belief, every concept of self, until only peace remains. Rest in the recognition that what you seek is what seeks. Part 4. The Embodied Creator. Chapter 31. The Horizon Within. The evening Laura gazed out her window at the distant mountains, an ancient truth whispered itself into being. Like countless souls before her, she had placed her dreams on the far horizon, measuring the vast expanse between her present reality and those cherished visions. Yet in that moment of quiet contemplation, A profound understanding descended like twilight's first star. The horizon is not a destination, but a companion that moves in perfect synchronicity with the traveler. This revelation unveils one of existence's most guarded mysteries. Expansion flows not from the distance we traverse, but from the depth we cultivate within. When you chase the horizon, it perpetually retreats. When you deepen your awareness, the horizon naturally expands to embrace your newfound vastness. Gordon's tale mirrors this wisdom. For years he waited for the perfect constellation of circumstances to launch his creative endeavors. "When the timing is right," he would say, postponing his innermost calling. Then one ordinary Tuesday afternoon, while tending to his garden, Gordon ceased his endless preparation and simply sank into the fullness of the present moment. Within weeks, opportunities began appearing, not through strategic planning, but through an effortless unfolding that seemed orchestrated by the universe itself. The core teaching crystallizes. There is no distance between you and your desires in consciousness. What appears as spatial separation is merely an invitation to deepen. Your dreams are not waiting for you somewhere in the future. They are gestating in the fertile soil of your present awareness, ready to bloom when you stop reaching and start embodying. This truth liberates you from the exhausting paradigm of pursuit. You need not chase what is already encoded within your being. Instead, allow yourself to expand internally until your outer circumstances have no choice but to reflect your inner magnitude. The universe conspires to match your inner state, not your outer striving. Practice. Close your eyes and feel how vast you already are. Let your inner expansion project a new circumference of possibility until life adjusts to house that greatness. Chapter 32. The Language of Energy. In the ceaseless dance of existence there lies a truth more ancient than words themselves, one that reveals how energy moves between souls long before language attempts to bridge the gap. This knowledge, preserved through ages in the whispers of mystics and sages, illuminates the invisible threads that weave human connection. Celia stood amidst social gatherings, her words perfectly chosen, her manners impeccable. Yet exhaustion followed her like a shadow, draining her vitality despite her flawless social performance. She spoke as society demanded, smiled on cue, and followed every rule of etiquette. Still, something felt missing, hollow, as though she performed in a play without truly touching the audience's hearts. The universal truth emerged through her experience. Energy, not words, forms the foundation of genuine connection. While her lips spoke pleasantries, her depleted spirit told a different story, one that others felt instinctively, beneath the surface of conscious awareness. This principle manifested with striking clarity through Russell's experience. During his daily routines, he often found himself in lengthy queues, at markets, banks, and various establishments. Where others might have radiated impatience, Russell discovered a profound secret. He began practicing silent kindness, directing thoughts of goodwill toward those around him without uttering a single word. The results proved remarkable. Tension dissipated like morning mist in sunlight. Frustrated sighs transformed into gentle laughter. Rigid shoulders relaxed, and stern faces softened. Without speaking, Russell had changed the entire atmosphere. His energy spoke volumes before he ever opened his mouth. The universe teaches us through such experiences that every gesture, every thought, every feeling broadcasts a frequency that precedes verbal communication. Words merely punctuate what energy has already declared. Like ripples in a pond, your vibration touches others long before your voice reaches their ears. This wisdom carries profound implications for daily life. Each interaction begins not with hello, but with the energy you bring into the space. Your inner state creates the foundation upon which all communication builds. When your words align with your energy, authenticity flows naturally. When they conflict, others sense the discord, even if they cannot name it. The ancient ones understood this secret. They knew that presence holds more power than presentation, that being transcends doing. In modern terms, your energetic signature announces you before your business card ever could. Practice. As you enter any room, pause briefly to feel your vibration as it reaches out ahead of you. Let your silent joy greet everyone before your mouth does. Notice how the space responds to your energy, how others unconsciously align with your frequency. This subtle awareness transforms ordinary encounters into opportunities for genuine connection, allowing your presence to speak the universal language of the heart. Chapter 33. The Architect of Momentum. Agnes sat at her desk each morning, staring at half-finished projects scattered like fallen leaves. Though her initial enthusiasm sparked bright beginnings, the flames inevitably dimmed to embers before completion. Through these cycles of inspiration and exhaustion, she uncovered a truth that transformed her approach to creation. Momentum flows not from force, but from alignment. The core teaching emerges from this discovery. When action springs from fear or obligation, it depletes. But when movement arises from genuine alignment, it generates its own sustaining energy. Like a river that flows effortlessly downhill, aligned action creates momentum through natural resonance rather than pushed effort. Calvin, a craftsman, embodied this principle in his workshop. Rather than forcing himself to meet arbitrary quotas, he approached each piece with reverent attention. Every morning, he would light a candle and spend a few moments in quiet appreciation before touching his tools. This simple ritual transformed his work from obligation to devotion. As days passed, Calvin noticed something remarkable. While others rushed to complete projects through frantic bursts of activity, his steady, aligned pace produced results that seemed to manifest through grace rather than strain. His gentle consistency created a field of creative momentum that attracted opportunities, resources, and admirers, as though the universe itself conspired to support work born of genuine connection. This reveals the subtle architecture of sustainable creation. Momentum is not a matter of speed, but of coherence. When your energy aligns with your intention day after day, you create a consistent signal that the universe can respond to with matching precision. Each aligned action, no matter how small, adds to this field of resonance until manifestation becomes as natural as fruit ripening on a tree. The interpretation crystallizes. Steady focus rooted in alignment will always outpace frantic bursts born of fear or forcing. True momentum builds not through intensity but through devotion, the quiet excitement of being in harmony with your own creative truth. Practice. Each dawn, select one cherished desire and nurture it with quiet excitement. Let this be a gentle courtship with your own becoming. Rather than pushing toward the goal, Allow your natural enthusiasm to carry the vision forward. Notice how devotion, not discipline, becomes the engine of achievement. This sacred consistency will create a momentum that sustains itself through the natural power of alignment. Chapter 34. The Everlasting Beginning. Long ago, a wise soul whispered that creation moves not in lines, but in spirals, each turn ascending higher while visiting familiar ground. This truth reveals itself through Myrna's tale, a woman who achieved everything society deemed success, yet found herself standing in an empty room of accomplishment, wondering why fulfillment remained elusive. What she discovered transformed not just her path, but her relationship with achievement itself. Success, she realized, was not a destination, but a rhythm of eternal becoming. Like breath itself, it moves in cycles of expansion and contraction, each phase equally sacred in the dance of creation. The universe knows no endpoints, only transitions. When Myrna embraced this wisdom, her restlessness transformed into anticipation. She began to see each achievement not as a final flag planted, but as a platform from which to launch new explorations. Her spirit lifted as she understood that completion itself was merely gestation in disguise. Edgar's story mirrors this profound realization. When his business, the work of a decade, closed its doors, conventional wisdom would have named it failure. Yet in that apparent ending, a seed of renewal stirred. The knowledge he had gathered, the wisdom earned through experience, sought new expression. Almost without effort, he found himself sharing his insights with others, stepping into a role as teacher that brought more joy than his previous success had ever offered. The secret lies in recognizing that the universe abhors stasis. What appears to be an ending is simply energy reshaping itself, seeking new forms of expression. Each conclusion carries within it the embryo of fresh beginning, waiting to be acknowledged and embraced. In the greater rhythm of existence, beginnings and endings dance as eternal partners, each taking turns leading the other in an infinite waltz of becoming. When you grasp this truth, fear of endings dissolves. Each closure becomes a doorway, each farewell a greeting in disguise. Sacred practice. As you encounter any ending, whether of a day, a relationship, a project, or a dream, pause to honor its completion. Place your hand upon your heart and whisper words of gratitude for what has been. Then, with gentle awareness, turn your attention to the quantum doorway that has just opened behind it. Feel the fresh possibilities stirring in that space. Let your spirit rise to meet them, knowing that this too is part of the eternal dance of creation. If you enjoyed this audiobook, I created a free ebook version for you. You can download it using the link in the pinned comment. Conclusion. The journey through these ancient principles reveals a profound yet simple truth. There was never anything truly hidden from you. What appeared as esoteric knowledge was merely the remembrance of what your soul has always known. The apparent complexity of manifestation dissolves into the elegant simplicity of alignment. When you understand that circumstances are reflections rather than sources, the world becomes as responsive as your own shadow. Every miracle that has graced human experience began as a thought held in unwavering certainty. The mastery that sets one apart from the masses lies not in accumulating techniques, but in returning to natural coherence, when thought, feeling, word, and action harmonize like instruments in an orchestra. This wisdom cannot be used for harm without harming oneself. For consciousness is a unified field. Like a mirror that reflects all gestures, the universe returns the quality of energy we extend. The creative force responds not to force but to friendship, not to grasping but to grace. Reality is more elastic than humanity has imagined, waiting to be shaped by focused awareness. Yet this shaping occurs not through strain, but through alignment with what already exists in potential. The master artist of reality paints with consciousness itself, understanding that all forms are temporary expressions of eternal energy. As you integrate these teachings, remember there is no final destination, only deeper levels of fluency in creation's silent language. The power was never in the techniques, but in your recognition of what you have always been, a conscious center through which the infinite expresses itself. Let this understanding settle into your bones as naturally as breathing. The secret is that there are no secrets, only temporary forgetting, followed by inevitable remembering. Welcome home to your true nature as reality's co-creator.
If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.